Welcome back, everybody, to the Words from the Nerds podcast. We are your lovely three hosts, Aiden, Ben, and Charlie. We have an awesome episode planned today, but there's some things that we have to get to first. And this is a very important one. Our episode format is going to be changing a little bit. We used to separate all of the content that we were covering. If it was a show, we would only cover like single episodes or sometimes two episodes within one of our discussions. And every movie was separated, so we were separating everything. But amidst all of this content coming out with Agatha all along, The Penguin, Joker, Wild Robot, more movies coming up, we just decided that we needed to change things up a bit. So from now on, other than, maybe some exceptions, we're still going to figure this out a little bit. We don't know exactly how it will look, but we're going to start combining a lot of the content that we watch on a weekly basis into singular episodes. So, along with that, if you are on YouTube, then you can also see the timestamps for when we have the different discussions. Like this episode, we are going to cover a little bit of news, some Agatha episode 4, a little bit of Penguin, Joker 2, as well as The Wild Robot. So if you want to jump around at all, if you're just interested in one of those specific topics, feel free to just hop through the episode as you please. And also make sure if you're on YouTube to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're on one of the wonderful listening platforms such as Spotify, make sure to give us a 5-star rating. And also, you have the ability to send us a text message, a personalized text that we will read in the next episode if you decide to do that. So there should be a link to that if you're on Spotify in order to send us a text, and you can say whatever you want. I think that covers everything, so we're going to get into these fine two gentlemen here. We're going to start off with Mr. Charlie. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Just felt a little something the way you just asked me how I'm doing. But it's fine. That's fine. We'll move on. I'm doing good. It's a wonderful night. We were recording this on the night of the release of Agatha episode 5. We won't be talking about that in this episode though, because we have not seen it. But it is out, and what can I say? I'm rearing to go. Chat. But other than that, it's been a great week, getting through. Had to go back to work. The vacation ended. So, that's a little bit of a bummer. But, we're trucking along. So, yeah. No complaints here. Aiden?
I'm doing great, brother. I just want to give a shout out to Attila Peter for his comment on our last episode, which we are taking into consideration if you are watching now, which I doubt that you are. But if you are, and you decided to check out this next episode after commenting on our last one, we appreciate you. As I said, anything that you want to let us know, criticism-wise, support-wise, whatever it is, this is a prime example of we are listening. We are here to take all of it into consideration, which is what we're doing now. So, brother, if you're listening, very, very, very much appreciate you. I'm doing good. Ready to get into this episode. I'm excited to, I feel like last episode my energy was off. Maybe it was just because of Agatha episode 3. And so, maybe now we could talk about the Wild Robot. We could talk about Joker 2. We could talk about all types of stuff to keep me balanced and to keep me in it. So I think I'm very much excited for that above everything else. So can't say that I'm not doing amazing right now.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm excited for this, especially because some of these topics, just being able to cover them at shorter length, I think will be definitely helpful. So I'm looking forward to it a lot. And with that being said, I think we are ready to hop right in to a small little news segment for this episode. And the big piece of news that we have for this week comes from the world of DC with some official casting updates from James Gunn himself for the Lantern series, which I don't know. I don't know that we've talked about the Lantern series or much of the new DC universe too much, but I didn't know that this project was going to be early in the DC universe, and maybe it's not going to be super early, but the fact that we're already getting casting confirmed when we don't have that for other projects like the Batman movie we know that they're working on and whatnot, that to me indicates that it's coming out like sooner rather than later. So I guess as kind of a lead into this, what do you guys think about the Lantern series? And are you fans of the character? Because like I'm one of those guys that like I know very little. I haven't even seen the Green Lantern movie. I'm so out of the know when it comes to certain parts of the DC universe.
Tisk tisk,
That
Benjamin.
that
Tisk tisk.
that'd be Charlie's. That'd be his avenue because I
I'm
am.
not
Don't tell
alone.
me you
I'm not
too.
alone.
I'm in the
What?
same
That is
boat. I had
crazy.
no idea a Lantern show was even being made. So
That's crazy, bro. Bunch of like, how do you guys run a podcast? You know, like that's a wonderful question. I'm not the biggest Green Lantern guy myself. I mean, I've made it clear that I'm more of a Marvel guy than a DC guy. But I grew up watching Justice League, the animated series, and Justice League Unlimited, the animated series. And Jon Stewart was fantastic. That's the Green Lantern I grew up with. I did not grow up with Hal Jordan. I know of Hal Jordan. I know of Guy Gardner. I don't know of like the newer Green Lanterns. I know that there's been talk about even today after this news of Aaron Pierre dropped. I can't remember the Green Lantern's name, but I believe it's like a Hispanic Green Lantern. Soldier. I don't even know what you call them, like the individual, but I know it's a corps, the Green Lantern Corps, but I don't know if you call them soldiers or whatnot. But anyway, I love Jon Stewart, and there were fan castings for this Aaron Pierre guy ever since his Netflix movie dropped. I believe it's called Rebel Ridge, and I watched that movie. It is a good movie. It is a very good movie. He does a fantastic job in that movie, and I think in terms of the really hard edged, like cutthroat kind of stands for his morals side of Jon Stewart, Aaron Pierre is going to knock it out of the park. Like he's going to be insanely good in multiple facets too. And I that's also what I'm excited to see because I think we see a very like one side of Aaron Pierre's in Rebel Ridge. Not to say that he doesn't do a fantastic job in that film, but I'm excited to explore more of what he can do. Hopefully with this Lantern series. There was also a little bit of a synopsis for the show that dropped. I don't think it was like a full synopsis, but apparently it takes place on Earth, and it's like sort of like a murder mystery. They're trying to figure out who killed this person on Earth. Slowly together, Hal and Jon Stewart, and Jon is a newer Lantern, and Hal is sort of training Jon, and I think that's and again, I'm not a DC guy, but I think that is a newer idea. I don't think that happened in the comics. Could be wrong though. Don't hold me to the knife, guys. But either way, I'm excited to see it. I think there was a lot of talk when it comes to Green Lantern casting in general. I think we talked about this on our previous episode for like a very small amount of time. How many people are complaining about like the age of the actors that are being cast, and I can't remember the name of the actor who was who was cast for Hal, but that before him, I think it was, I don't know, some like 50 or 60-year-old actor that was rumored to be doing it, and people were making jokes about how old the entire new DCU is, which didn't make sense to me because most of them are young. David Cordswet, Isabella Merced, the guy who plays Mr. Terrific, et cetera, et cetera. Supergirl, I can go on. And so it's nice to see that change of pace. But also, and I don't know if I want to dive into this until I think you guys gave all the thoughts you can give, I guess. You don't know much of the character. I mean, do you know anything about the actor? I guess I could ask. Did you guys watch Rebel Ridge?
Nope.
No.
I have not, but I know the actor for Hal Jordan, Kyle Chandler, which I just looked up. He is 59 years old.
Sheesh.
But I've
Okay.
seen a couple movies that he's in.
Mm-hmm.
Not too many though.
Yeah, he's a very recognizable face. I think I saw people
Right.
being like, they were talking about. I think he was in Friday Night Lights, or
Yeah.
I forgive me, I haven't watched it, but apparently he gives like this really awesome speech in the show, and I saw people being like, "Can you imagine if we get a blank type speech from Hal Jordan, or whenever we get to see that?" And so I know a lot of people are in favor, at least from what I've seen, are in favor of the casting.
I'm happy, and I just really want to reiterate if I already stated it. Like I am so happy that we're getting Jon Stewart because I cannot tell you how tired I am of Hal Jordan. It seems like we have not gotten a good Jon Stewart since that those two Justice League animated series that I mentioned earlier. Ever since then, we had like Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern movie, and in every animated movie since, it's always been Hal Jordan at the center. I think isn't there like an image of Zack Snyder's planned Jon Stewart thing? I think that's
Yeah.
as far as that went. I guess we got Jon Stewart in the Suicide Squad video game, but everybody says that game is terrible. So it's probably not great. But I am so glad to finally be getting some more Jon Stewart recognition. But with that being said, the talk online about this casting on Twitter specifically, or X, whatever you want to call it. I'll never call it that myself. But is that he's too light skinned to be playing Jon Stewart. He should have a darker complexion, apparently. And this is it's a interesting area to talk about, I think, because my initial perspective was he's a black man and he's playing a black character, and I think that's fine. I did recently see, and I don't know how true it is, that the creator of the character Jon Stewart, in an interview a long time ago, was asked about coloring, or maybe it was the artist rather than the creator of the character, but coloring the character in comics so dark. He was asked why he does that, and he's like, well, I mean, most black people I know are really dark. There are lighter skinned black people, but not Jon Stewart, is what he specifically said. And so with that, there's a little bit of, I mean, as far as that goes, like if we're gonna get into the conversation with respecting the creators and artists, the original creators and artists of these characters, I 100% agree that they deserve more respect and everything, and their wishes met more. But at this day and age, in both Marvel and it seems like it's carrying over to DC now, like they don't get the accurate amount of pay that they should. Like the guy who created Thanos and all these other things, he's had multiple complaints. Getting proper recognition even in the titles of the movies, or the credits of the movies, excuse me, not even like getting approached to ask if they can include specific characters that they created. But at the end of the day, that's like into a whole different conversation about who owns said character after they're created, when they're under this branch of a company, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, if that is the case, getting down to the brass tacks of it, if that is the case, I think that there is something to be said there about, if they didn't do that research, then that's fine. I still think that this is a good casting, and I don't think that it should be overshadowed by this grand idea of skin complexion, because if he obviously, and I think James is very good at casting, and I wouldn't even be making this argument if I didn't see James Gunn be the one to tweet out this announcement, or I guess I don't know if he came out with it first, but he did tweet it out anyway. So I imagine that he was involved in the process to some degree. And I trust James, and I trust the way he casts characters. He does a great job. He has a great history of doing it. I mean, John Cena as Peacekeeper, I thought that was dumb when that was first announced, right?
Peacemaker.
Did I hear that, brother?
What did I say? What did I say?
He said peacekeeper.
Peacekeeper. Oh, excuse me. Wait, who is Peacekeeper then? I don't know why I said that. But anyway, Peacemaker. Like John Cena as Peacemaker, bro. Like I thought like, dude, John Cena, bro, he was in the Fred movie. What are we doing, bro? What are we doing? Like, come on. But then, dude, what he did in that show, dog, like, come on, man. I think James knows what he's doing. I got trust in it. And that's really where the conversation should end. I think we have just gotten so spoiled and we just love to whine, but
Yeah,
whatever.
if I could give just my small 2 cents on it, and I hope this isn't like a controversial take, but like the person who originally created a character, yeah, they created a character, but I don't think that they necessarily have a say in the specific casting of that character for the rest of time. For example, like you have certain Disney movies where they're changing the skin color of characters, and I don't think that the at least well, some people have an issue with it. Okay, there is a side of Twitter that you can go on that takes issue with it, but I think most people are saying if the person, plays the character well, then like that's all that matters. And so like we've already seen these changes happening. And I just think that this is like it's another case of like if it doesn't matter in these instances, it shouldn't matter here. And so I think for a majority of people, that's not going to be an issue. And those who do take issue with it, I just don't think that there's really ground to stand on because like DC owns the character and James Gunn has that say. And I mean, that's the case for so many different characters and so many different franchises. And that's just, I mean, I just don't understand. I just don't think there's anything there, in my opinion.
I will say I understand from the perspective of like it seems like a compounding issue, like like as you're sort of mentioning like with this now, and then there's people that complain about Wanda being not being played by a Romani actress, and that's also now pouring into the stuff with Doom and RDJ and whatnot. But I mean, then you can get into the minutia about maybe he's not playing real Doom, et cetera, et cetera. And so, like it just I can understand people's being upset when it comes to how often it's happening, but at the same time, they've gotten like this amount of upset with every single one. So, you know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I think we can move on.
I'm just along for the ride with DC. I mean, like, if I don't have a lot of experience with the character, I'm just along for the ride. I'll let this be my entryway to it. So
Absolutely. All right. Moving on to Agatha episode 4, which I heard good things about leading into it. I'm not gonna lie. I'll just give my thoughts because I'm talking.
Yeah, go for it.
Quiet down. I heard good things, even within some of the Discord servers that we're in. People saying that episode 4 was a big change for them, or that they liked it a lot more. I think I have a lot of the same problems with episode 4 that I did with episode 3, both with the pacing of the episode. I mean, I even looked. It took like 12 minutes of the episode for us to even get into the house, and then it took more time before we even started within the trial. And so it just feels like so many unnecessary things are happening, and then like you get moments where they could dive deeper into substance. And I will say that this episode I think had a couple moments that were a little better when it comes to substance and like learning about our characters and their relationships with one another. This had more of that. We are getting there with certain aspects, but it still just feels like a jumbled mess and mostly just things that I don't care about, and continued issues with Teen, which we definitely, when we, talk spoilers, we'll have to talk about the decision they made, how to end the episode, because I think that was just really silly. Like I could see what they're going for, but it's silly when you look at the grand scheme of the show. So yeah, I kind of feel very similarly. The one thing that I will say is I don't know what the song is called, the Ballad of the Witch's Road or whatever it's called.
yeah, Smacks.
kind of a banger.
It slaps. It slaps. It
I
slaps.
kind of love that, but yeah, I mostly feel very similar, other than like a couple of hints of things that should be more of the focal point of the show, which is just unfortunate because like we're now basically halfway in, and I still don't feel like we're going very far with things. So I pretty much feel the same as I have so far in the first couple of episodes.
I will say stylistically, I think this was the best episode in the entire show. Stylistically, I think I could appreciate the sets, the costumes. I thought that whole number was just awesome. The little the thing that one of the witches ends up seeing in the show. I don't know. Just before we go into spoilers, that looked sick. There was a lot in this that I liked. Again, kind of felt a little episode 3-ish, just with like the pacing and just kind of like kind of filling in the runtime a little bit. I wish we got a lot more of like the end of the episode, the conversations that were being had there. I think there's a lot of good stuff there. They're doing a lot of really good work with Agatha's character in this episode. Those things I could appreciate. It left a better taste in my mouth after what happened in episode 3, and kind of gave me some more reassurance that like, okay, I can kind of get back on this ride. I'll keep a foot in and just kind of keep seeing where things go. I heard today's episode is really good. I've seen a lot of positive things online before we hopped in here, so I'm just at this point in time, I'm still kind of just along for the ride. I think they did it. I mean, if I were to put like a rating on episode 3 and episode 4, I mean, it would be like episode 3 got a 5, episode 4 got a 7.5. It bumped it up a little halfway, to where I wasn't just absolutely clawing my eyes out like, why is this being made, as I was after episode 3. So episode 4 I could appreciate a lot more. I think they did I think they just did a lot of really cool shit in there. I thought, and like I said, stylistically, man, I was eating it up when they were doing those when the camera was halfway on her and then all the way on Agatha, and then it just kind of moved her off the screen, and I was just like, man, this is awesome. And the song just playing, it was great. And so I had a lot more fun with this episode than I did last week, I will say for sure. But again, still some issues with it. Still wondering where this is going to go, and I'm still hoping that they don't fumble. I'm hoping that the worst is behind us at this point in time. And so we'll see. All right, everybody get ready. Everybody get ready.
The hell are you trying to say, man? Golly. I swear, man, I get treated like shit here, Chad. If anybody has an open slot on a different podcast, let me know. Let me know.
No, our thumbnail maker.
I liked the episode. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode, episode 4 of Agatha All Along. It gave me what I wanted finally with character work. Forget that character's name. That's how much I liked the episode. But the character who without spoiling it, but who came along for initially we came to understand that she came along for her mother, to find out
is it
more
Alice
information about her mother.
or
is that her name?
I don't know. Fuck, I don't know.
That kind of sounds right actually to me. But we got more with her character without spoiling, and I loved it. I like, this is what I feel like the show was missing for me. And not only with her too, like we got a lot more with Aubrey Plaza and Agatha specifically. And I thought that was great too. They went heavy on the teases for Aubrey Plaza's character this episode as well. I know Ben probably still doesn't know, so we won't talk about that too much. But they went heavy with. That's all I'll say. They went heavy with the teases. Don't rewatch it if you don't know what I'm talking about. Just I want it to be fresh for you.
Oh, yeah.
They went super hard with it though. Aiden knows, I'm sure. It's and I enjoyed it. You know, I've seen the side of the audience that's a little upset that they didn't get to theorize a bit more because they saw the leak and whatnot. But it's whatever. Who cares about theorizing? It's overrated anyway. But in terms of like seeing Agatha having to deal with this, no, I can't say that. It's spoilery. I enjoyed the episode.
You can get into spoilers. You're the last one with the spoiler-free thoughts.
Okay.
So if you're done with your spoiler-free thoughts, go for it.
That's all I mean, I can say I like the episode. Like I love the character work, and I guess I should also add like the set design and also just the overall, like, I don't know. I thought this was like it's still very Disney Channel. Don't get me wrong, but this is like the Disney Channel I grew up with, bro. Where they had to like they take down the demon. That's spoil. I'm getting into spoilers. Whatever. They take down the demon with a song. Like that's badass, bro. That's badass. They're
down the road, hey.
Dude. Apparently that's the. They're the people who wrote that song are the writers for Frozen. They wrote the Frozen songs and I believe the Moana songs as well. But
sick.
Yeah, super cool episode. And then diving a little bit more into spoilers, they played around more with the idea of Teen being Agatha's son until the very end, where they just outright say, like, where Aubrey Plaza outright says that. He's not yours, which I thought that was a good moment as well. Actually, that was a really good. Like their chemistry is really like as actresses, they have really great chemistry on screen. I have to say that as well. Fantastic. The scene by the fire, I also really loved as well with all the other witches. I will say though, like I did find it kind of weird for Agatha to just all of a sudden lovingly care about Teen, like once she finds out that he's hurt. Like I get it, I get the idea is like she's thinking that that's her son, but still, like she was so like crass and hardened with him up to that point. It just seems so like a left switch out of nowhere to me anyway.
You know what's funny? I just thought of this right now. We're gonna get into Penguin Deep later, but it's weird how both of these shows going on carry some of the same themes in terms of what you just mentioned. I don't know. We'll talk about that later, but I don't know. That's pretty interesting to me.
Yeah. Actually, I think that's pretty much all I had to really say about the episode. I'm glad that they stuck so far with the Mrs. Hart thing. I think that's good, and we'll see. Because I mean that now I see what purpose it served to get Aubrey Plaza's character there. I did initially when I first saw it, I will say I was like, okay, well then she was the one that was supposed to be on. She was on the list anyway, so like, why didn't we just do that to begin with? But I guess it was just like a one last like foil for Agatha because she didn't want her on the trip, and then she ends up on the trip anyway.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say, because whenever they say we need a green witch, you can see Agatha being like, no, we're fine. And they're like, no, we need it. She's like, oh, fine, Mrs. Hart. Like, I'm not going to oh, wow. Yeah. I almost dropped a huge.
Because the black heart was on the thing. And earlier in that episode, she said, or maybe it was the previous episode at that point, she said, like, my heart is black and it beats for you.
You know what? Maybe this show just thrives when Agatha and Rio just get to be together. Maybe this show just thrives when they get to share the screen, because gosh dang, I
hope there's more of it in tonight's episode.
Aubrey Plaza was killing it. No, yeah, I fully agree. I got spoiled on what happens in tonight's episode. Gotta say, it's gonna slap. I think it will slap. I think it will slap.
Hey, that makes me happy.
But no, yeah, crap. You had brought up. Oh, yeah. When they're talking about Mrs. Hart, and she said, whatever. She was a bad draft pick, anyways. I was like, damn. Charlie,
I didn't remember. I don't remember.
Charlie knows a lot about bad draft picks. All right. Anyways, Ben,
Didn't you admit that I would have won if we did our TikTok thing?
because you're
That's
a
what he admitted,
casual.
Chad.
Because it was casual, safe picks, brother. You didn't swing for the fences.
Is it safe picks, or were your picks just so fucking bad that you thought mine were safe picks? Or is that what happened?
I will die
A
on
win
my
is a win.
hill. I will die on my hill. I don't need to pander to casuals.
Okay. Oh, pander like you pandered to me when I said that the red Daredevil suit was ass, and you were like, okay, yeah, I'll switch to the black one. Have some fucking integrity.
Before you even said anything, I said, "Oh, I'm flip flopping. These could go either way." So
yeah, okay.
So
yeah, I'm sure.
Mute that mic, brother.
You're right.
Mute that mic.
You're right, man. You're so right, bro.
Hit the top of your mic.
Snooze ball. Sleaze ball.
I think for me, I think that like I can see the moments of where this episode is starting to give me what I was looking for, but it's still just like not quite there. It's not enough, so I still have similar feelings of kind of the disappointment and just hoping that they can shift and give me more. And like I said, there's sprinkles of that, so I'm hoping that there will be more as we go on. And then the only other thing that I wanted to mention, I didn't like the moment where they flat out say that Teen is an Agatha's child.
Really?
Only for the reason that we know who he is. And so if the show is really trying to build up towards that, then they've wasted 4 episodes with this like false pretense that like, oh, what if he's Agatha's, and then just to say that he's not. And for us, it's like, we knew this. Like it's still along the lines of, it doesn't do anything to like add to the mystery, add to the character, add to the suspense. It doesn't do that for me. So I didn't think that moment was very good for all the same reasons why I've been against how they've been handling the buildup of his character.
I guess maybe I should preface I like it because of the performance within it from Catherine Hahn was really good. I the facial expressions and how she played it off from like almost a loving embrace to Aubrey Plaza to just like a nervous sort of, not scared, but just a retreat afterwards. I thought that was really well done. And also just from an analyzation and an analysis, of Agatha's character a little bit more. Like with that reveal, and like she thought that she apparently up to this point had another chance with her son potentially, and just to see that like all in one moment like ripped away from her, I thought that was great. But in terms of like the overarching story, in how it connects to Teen and whatnot, I agree with you.
Cool. That's about all I had for Agatha. I'm actually excited to watch tonight's episode, especially after seeing what happens. I'm very excited to watch it. So I think it should be a good one. Next week we'll be back here talking about it. I hope that we are on an uphill, or we are on an incline for the rest of this season. I hope the worst is behind us. And it looks kind of promising. I guess I'll say it looks kind of promising, and I'm excited to see how the rest of this shapes out.
What are you staring at me for, bro?
I was
hardcore staring.
I was looking at the
man.
leveler on my tripod to keep my camera level. Charlie wouldn't know about that.
Anyways, you say, bro. Mine's on a monitor.
Anyways, Benjamin, take us into the next.
All right. We are moving into Penguin, which we did not cover episode 2. So we have episodes 2 and 3. I think we'll just lump them together just for simplicity's sake. And everybody's seen both of them, right?
Yeah.
Just want to make sure. Okay,
yes,
good.
Yes.
Just double checking. Yeah, Aiden, why don't you start us off with some of your thoughts?
This show absolutely fucks, man. This show is awesome. I absolutely loved episode 3. I thought it was so cool. Episode 2, I felt like we were just kind of still, laying the groundwork. You're in between that first episode and then like kicking into your mid-season type of stuff. And so I thought it was cool. Just reading off of some of my notes for the second episode. I love the visitation window. Again, getting to see like just the Batman nostalgia. It was great. Penguin working his magic. A line from him that I thought was really cool was whenever he's sitting talking to Maroni in the prison, and he's basically telling Penguin to F off, and like, I know what you're trying to do here. And Penguin's like, you're already wearing the ring around here, so you might as well just lean into it. I was like, oh man, he does not freaking miss. He doesn't miss. And then obviously crime rate in Gotham going up since the floods, and they have freaking opened up Arkham Asylum. Oh, they're setting up a lot of really cool things. Obviously, we see that's how Sophia is out and about in the world, doing her thing. And then, yeah, some of the stuff that they set up with Vic's character, laying the groundwork for what we would eventually see in episode 3. I thought it was really cool. Again, just kind of like moving along. The end was very intense. That I didn't have any notes for the end sequence, so it's not like coming to me immediately, but just Sophia, absolutely being a menace. The tension she brings into every scene is so sick, especially whenever she's just seeing right through Oz and letting him know every single time she gets a chance, and just seeing how Oz can just kind of like, she's the one obstacle that he can't seem to like maneuver around, and I think that's really cool. That's really cool to see. And then episode 3, obviously, I thought episode 3 was an absolute banger. Probably my favorite of the bunch so far. They're doing a lot of amazing work with Vic's character, showing his PTSD from the floods. I thought that was cool. Also, get to see the other side of it, from the eyes of a citizen in Gotham, seeing how they were so excited to see, I forget what it is, get blown up, and then it just turns into like utter chaos and like an absolute traumatic event for him. Thought that was cool to get some flashbacks with that, get to see Vic and Gracie share a lot of moments together, especially, as we get towards the end of the episode. Are we just like full on like getting into the full episode breakdown, or just like kind of our spoiler free thoughts?
Whatever you want.
All right. No, him and Gracie setting that up as some more character work for Vic was awesome. We get to see Penguin and Sophia work together. They go in and blackmail Vidi. I thought it was a funny line where he was like, "Where were you?" Or she's like, "Where were you?" I was waiting. What, you were scared he was gonna finish too quick or something? Oh, I thought it was great because I was like, "What are they talking about?" And then they obviously get up in there and they're like, "All right." Got to see some cool character work with Penguin as well. Vidi, just the people that see right through him. It's cool to see how much of an obstacle they are for him. It shows that he's not like as ironclad as he hopes to be, and maybe at the end of the series we'll see him climb that underground mob boss ladder, the underground crime world ladder. But right now it shows that he still is not where he wants to be, because there are some people that still see through him, that still might not respect him. I think that adds a lot to how he looks at Vic too, whenever he's yelling at him in the bathroom. He's like, "What? You want to leave so bad? Where were you before you met me? All right, like, I've given you a place to live." You can really see that power kind of take over whenever he's sitting there talking to Vic. But I think there is also a side of him that does see Vic as like a son, someone that he truly does care about and truly does respect, while also wanting respect from him, which is why I say it's funny that we're getting to, these episodes at the same time, where you see, like, obviously it's more Disney-fied in the Marvel side, but like, Agatha and Teen and how that switch kind of happens was the same thing here, as Penguin's kind of starting to respect him a little more and realize just how much he wants him around whenever it's threatened to be taken away from him. Another reason why I say that is because I saw someone make the comparison when he's outside talking to Sophia, and he, she's still kind of just like taunting him, and he's like, "Okay, what, you want me to say sorry?" And he starts to tell her how much this all truly means to him, and he starts to cry. Somebody pointed out that that was actually him being heartbroken by Vic leaving, and he was pulling from that to fake tears for Sophia in that moment. And I think that's a really cool way to read it, because obviously he tells her like, "Oh, I'm in this with you. I'll do whatever with you." And then the minute the Maronis show up and cuff him up and Vic saves the day, he's like, leave her, fuck her. Like, let's get the fuck out of here, dude. Like, I knew you'd come back. And it's like, Oz is this type of dude that is so quick to turn on people. He's too timing. Like, he is truly in this for himself. But if that's the case, then, you know, why is he so hung up on Vic? Why is he this dude that he was so, like, that he was just gonna kill in episode 1? You know, why does he jump back in his arms? Why is he so hurt over him leaving, to the point where he's like, man, whatever, just walk out. And when Vic does walk out, he's just sitting at the bar drinking, just whatever. I truly think that him drawing from that feeling of Vic leaving were fake tears for Sophia. I don't think he really cares. I think he sees Sophia as a step in this ladder that he has to climb. It's nice to see that Vic has started to mean a lot more to him. And, you know, he kind of sees himself in him. Obviously, as he was Sophia's driver, Vic is his driver. What a freaking way to end the episode, man. Just Vic, it's right there, man. Gracie's right there. I am a sucker for these type of scenes where a character is just left with a decision. All right, if you stay in this car right now and that bus leaves, you're in forever. Like, this is it. If you get out of this car right now and go, like, you're gone. You're on your way to California. You never have to see Oz again. But that split-second decision of him being like, I got to go back, and then just slam into the Maronis. Oz hops in the car, and he's like, oh, yeah, you're in it now, man. You're in it. I knew you'd fucking come back, Vic. I knew it. It's just, like, that tension and that, like, just chaos to end the episode off like that, I think was gorgeous. I think it did a lot for me personally. I wasn't too sold on like Oz immediately taking Vic under his wing. After all the work they did this episode, I think I'm fully bought in. And so episode 3 was a freaking banger, at least to me. I had a great time with it. I love that scene with the cop where he's like, this is a lot of money to be on a young man. He's like, what money? He's like, all right, when your boss gets out of here, you tell him you got to get the fuck out of here. There's just a lot of cool, like, again, I'm going to mention this every week. The world building in this show for Gotham is top tier. I love to see this just crime-ridden streets that I know Batman eventually has to come in and clean up. And so that also makes me appreciate those little offhanded comments of like crime rate has gone up 42% since the floods. It's like, where's Batman? Like, holy shit, like crime is here, buddy. Like, you got to get up on them streets. You know, your time is now. And so I could appreciate a lot of those moments. But in terms of the Penguin show, in terms of what we got surrounding Vic and Oz, I thought it was awesome. And I had a hell of a time. I'm all in for this ride. I know a lot of people are calling this show boring, and it's like, if you have a fucking short attention span, just say so, brother. Like, y'all are the same people clowning Better Call Saul. Like, come on, bro. Just say you can't stay off your phone for 15 minutes, all right? Anyways, I thought it was great. I thought this episode was really cool, and it's got me hooked. It's got me hooked.
Fine, Benji, if you
ahead,
don't want to participate, brother. Golly. I had to, while Aiden was yapping away, golly, I had to go back and just skim episode 2 because it had been a minute. But I'm a little bit refreshed now. I do remember thinking with episode 2, it was kind of just more the same from episode 1. It was kind of just like some hijinks going on, trying to get away with little things. So Oz isn't like immediately killed, kind of thing, by either family this time. I think that's the difference with episode 2 is that now he was trying to navigate his way through the Maronis as well as the Falcons. And it was still good. I still enjoyed the episode, but I did think it was it was a little bit samey from episode one. But no complaints. I still loved Sophia and Oz as well. But as Aiden mentioned, episode three, man, gosh, the opening, man. I had chills. I had tears in my eyes. Like it was so good. It was so well done. The opening, like the tension building. And once I realized, like, oh, well, I realized as soon as I saw his family, of course, that it was a flashback. But the whole time I was waiting on the roof, I was like, I know it's gonna happen soon, man. I know it has to happen here. And then just to watch that water just flood into the street and then slam up against the building where his family is. Ah, dude, I'm getting chills right now talking about it. So good. And my only thought was not to. I don't want to dog. I really don't want to dog on them because, like, I think that they did a decent job in the one movie, but I just feel like it was such like a. Even just this show as a whole, honestly, is still kind of like it deals with the events of reeling, like as Aiden mentioned, like crime is up. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is I feel like this is like what the MCU didn't do with the snap, like reeling with the people that were left behind afterwards and the society that's left behind afterwards. We get snippets of it in Endgame, like I was trying to say, like with Cap going to the meeting and whatnot and talking to the different victims / survivors. You call them victims because they lost people they love and so they survived. But with this, like, you get to see not only did Victor lose everybody he loved, but girlfriend did too, and that's why she's leaving. You know, like that's like it's so good to me. And just to, I guess, step off of Vic for a little bit. I also loved what Aiden mentioned with the cop and the money. I thought that was a great little thing too. But oh my gosh, man, Colin Farrell, dude.
God damn.
Man, fantastic, dude. Like, just knocked it out of the park, dude. Like, everything down from just how betrayed he feels after Vic walks away. It was, man. That's why, and that's where I actually want to say I differ. I don't know who said that, because like I don't think that they're inherently wrong on what you mentioned, Aiden, with when he was talking to Sophia. Mm-hmm. I think there could be a hint of that, of him lying as well, but just based off of like the other past conversations that Oz has had and how he views his life when he was a kid and what he had and where he is now, and the speech that he gives to Victor, I think it's very telling, and that's like an honest conversation. And I think I think that it's super honest because it sucks for Oz that what precedes that, or not precedes it, but what follows that pouring out of his heart to Sophia is what we can assume. We didn't hear the conversation yet. I'm sure we'll see it next episode. When the Maroney mom shows up, we can assume right after what probably Sophia, I mean, she did say, I guess, I don't know how to trust you anymore. But I do feel like that was the first time that Oz was like 100% honest with her. And because he said, like, you're right, I don't regret getting you thrown into Arkham because that helped me. Like a guy like me, it got me to the position I am. And I think that worked great for his relationship with Sophia, but then obviously that gets ripped away. I'm not obviously. I'll wait to see, but I'm assuming it gets ripped away by the Maronis. And then just also I want to touch on, because I saw a take on this. I should have saved it, but it was someone on Twitter. They said that Victor had the reason he didn't go in the car with or on the bus ride with that girl is because he had already chosen this life, and he realized that like this is what it's going to put her in danger and whatnot. I didn't have that take. I had the take that like, that is him choosing the life right then and there after the conversation with Oz, and he realized, because Oz puts it out. Oz puts it out plainly, like. And he insults his dad in the process a little bit. Like, your dad, I'm sure, was an honorable man, but like he had nothing. And there were seeds planted at the beginning of the episode of that, like with Victor talking to his dad, hey, you should ask for more money. Like everything you do, you should get paid more. And his sister agreed. And his dad was like, nah, that's not how this works, and yada yada yada. And then Oz is basically telling him exactly what he was thinking, I'm sure, in that moment when he was talking to his dad that night. And it's like, you got to go out and take what you deserve in this world, because if you want more than what your car mechanic dad had, fucking working paycheck to paycheck or whatever he said, like, this is the life for you then. Like, there's no other option here. And even though we know that that's not entirely true, just Victor is such is it's so he's so impressionable at this stage, especially after just losing his family and everything. Oz says the right things at the right time, and he chooses to stay. And I think, dude, it's so well done, man. And that's why I just wanted to say I don't agree with that Twitter person. I don't remember who they were. I should have saved the tweet because I knew we were going to talk about it. But anyway, so good. Love this episode, man. Fantastic.
Even whenever when Oz first pays Vic and he's like, no one's gonna know your worth until you tell him, and so Vic's like, I want 2,000, and he's like, oh yeah, not gonna happen. I appreciate it, but it's not gonna happen. But even that, like, Vic is already trying to get ahead of that because he's seen what happened to his dad. Ask for more money. Like, yeah, Vic's proven a lot, but he just got paid and he's like 2,000 more. Like, he's already had that instilled in him, and so to see Oz just kind of come in and say and do all the right things in terms of Vic's character, yeah, no doubt in my mind that he's going to sit there and leave Gracie. Like, why would he go do honest work and make an honest living? He saw what that got his dad. And so I think that not only is amazing character work for him, but also for Oz. I also wanted to say real quick before we get into Ben's, there was one thing in my notes I forgot to mention was the character work that they set up with Vic in episode 2. I forget why I put this down. Again, it's been a while, but I put like it seems like he might have lost his family or something in the flood, and I thought that's cool to show that dynamic between him and the whole reason this universe was created, the Batman. Whenever you lose something like that, for Vic it was his family, for Bruce it was his parents, what path you take and what path you end up going on. And for Vic it was Oz and this world of underground crime, and obviously for the Batman it's justice and cleaning up the streets of Gotham. So I thought that was really cool to still show that that path that people take when faced with something like that. Just all around amazing work, man. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that you guys have talked about with the whole show, to be honest. I think we're all kind of on the same boat when it comes to how much we are enjoying it. And I don't want to hark on this too much because I think it doesn't fully make sense to compare the two, but I know we've done it a little bit before. But like the difference between this show and Agatha, I won't spend too much time on it, I promise. But we're about the same distance into each of these shows. There's less episodes for Penguin, so I think for both we have 5 more episodes that we're getting. And obviously Penguin's episodes are a little bit longer, but at least with the pacing so far, I feel like the episodes of Penguin started so well and set everything up so well that like episode 3, it doesn't feel like the launching point into the story. It feels like we've already been going and now we're getting to like really intense, serious situations with our characters, especially like the end of episode 3, of course. Whereas like Agatha, to me, it feels like we're getting to the starting point of how the show should have started, with like how it's prioritizing its characters and whatnot. So I just wanted to point out again why I think that this show is working so well and fitting within this universe so well when something like Agatha isn't. One of the things that I wanted to highlight, which I know you guys have talked about, is just the relationship between Oz and Vic. I think there's so many little moments, especially throughout episode 3, that are just incredibly well done. Like the moment in the restaurant when Vic is ordering steak and the waiter kind of like eggs him on, you know, like, is this what you're looking for? And Oz kind of standing up for him and being like, hey, the man's talking, like, just chill out. Like, that moment of him like defending him, but then saying like, no, you should be the one doing this. Kind of like the whole like, don't let your, in this case, your stutter be the thing that holds you back. Like, be the person you want to be. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. Which was kind of like, I think that was then led really well into the scene with the conversation they had in the bathroom when Vic says like "f you" and Oz is like "f the world," like, you know, it's unfair, it's all these things, it's whatever. Um, and even within that conversation, Vic has a stutter, and in that moment, Oz actually like he points it out because of like the disagreement that they're having. So I think they've done a really good job of like Oz has been such like in a way like so supportive of Vic in Vic's journey into the world of crime. He's been so supportive of him in that regard, but like they're still figuring it out. And so like when they have that moment of tension and of disagreement, like even Oz kind of like how he's Two-Face and he can switch up really quickly, he can go from defending him in one moment to then, you know, using it against him in another moment. I just think they've done a great job of like, obviously their characters are growing and their relationship is building with one another, but like they're still very much their own characters. Oz is still very much himself, to a fault in some points. So I just really appreciate what they are doing with that. And then the only other thing that I really wanted to mention was like for the ending, which I do think was really good. But we go from a moment of Sophia saying, "I don't know how much I can trust you," and Oz basically saying like, "Let me just continue to show you why you can." And like we go from that, and obviously we miss a piece of it, but we immediately go into him just dipping and leaving her, which like we'll see how it plays out. In the moment, it felt a little silly. It's like if your goal is really like you're trying to build up this trust, and you tell her like, let me continue to show you why you can trust me, save her real quick, and like, you know, that will, you know, help your end goal here. Which like we don't know how that plays out. We have to see where things go and what actually happens with her. You know, maybe she's captured and then he goes and rescues her, and that ends up being a greater good because there was more of a threat to her life or whatever. We'll just have to see how that plays out. But it was something that I just noticed as like, a, really, was this the smartest choice? But overall, yeah, I love where we're going, and I'm fully hooked. I think this is incredible. Like this is, it's everything that I would have hoped, and probably even more. Just like from a spin-off show in this universe, it's checking off all the boxes for me.
Yeah, me as well. I'm excited to
Agree
see
more.
where we go.
All right. With that being said, we're hopping into The Wild Robots, which is a new film from DreamWorks Animation that came out. Did it just come out this past weekend, or has it been out a couple weeks?
I think a couple weeks.
Maybe
I
it's been
think.
out for a couple of weeks. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I'm always a big fan of DreamWorks Animation. I think in more recent years they've been one of my preferred animation studios. I'm a big defender of the How to Train Your Dragon movies. I shouldn't say defender because they're very loved, but like I adore those movies. Especially the first two. I think they're some of the best animated movies ever made. But in more recent years, like things with what did we get a couple years ago? Oh, the new Puss in Boots. Just like
Oh
a
yeah.
phenomenal movie with one of my favorite villains in recent years. So anytime that DreamWorks has a project that kind of it seems different, it seems unique, I'm always really excited for it. I say like it has to seem different, and I only bring that up because they also like they fall into the trap of kind of I consider them almost Illumination movies, Despicable Me-esque, because they make like the Croods films or Trolls or something like that, Boss Baby. But then they come out with stuff like How to Train Your Dragon or Kung Fu Panda and whatnot. Um, but overall, I think they've released some of the better animated films of the last few years, especially. So, um, yeah, going into this movie, I was really excited. I only saw it a couple days ago, so or I guess, yeah, I saw it last night. Um, and I saw all of the reviews and whatnot, very highly rated, especially on Letterboxd. It had like a 4.2 or 4.3 on Letterboxd, which is insanely high. Anything getting a 4 or above is really good on Letterboxd. And then it was like a 8.4 or something on IMDb. So just like incredible ratings all around. So I was really excited. And I think I'll just kind of give just my summarized thoughts. I really liked the movie. I thought a lot of the moments within it and the elements that they were setting up were really good. I could tell from the very beginning. I was like, I can see where this is going. Robot who doesn't have feelings, doesn't have emotions, and setting up that dynamic, and then encountering wilderness and animals and whatnot. I could see the pieces, and I expected some of the places that it would go. I think I like a lot of the payoff moments towards like the second half of the movie, but also towards the second half of the movie, I thought there was some weird choices with the pacing of the story, and I don't know if it's because it wasn't what I was expecting, and if I would appreciate it more upon rewatch, but like the whole movie builds up to this one moment, and you get to that moment, and then it kind of just like continues, and then they build on it after that, but like it didn't it didn't feel like that should be the halfway point to the movie. And so the pacing for everything after that just didn't really work for me, although I think a lot of the moments were really good. Um so I think I really liked the setup and a lot of the beats in the first half. It really was just that second half that holds it back a little bit, and doesn't make it for me. Like I wouldn't rate it as highly as some of these averages, but I would still go pretty high. Like a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10 for me. I just think that second half really held it back.
Yeah, I'd probably go around 8.5 out of 10. I think the highs of this movie are really high. I mean, I was sitting in the theater sobbing. I think it's just a lot of great moments. An amazing character arc for both the Bright Bill and holy shit, I'm blanking on her name. I did
Roz.
Ross. I was coming off of a Joker 2 and Wild Robot double feature when I watched this. So by the end of Wild Robot, I was in tears. Coming off of Joker 2, I was just like out of it. But I thought it was a really good movie. Hit right in the feels. I do agree. Whenever they hit the halfway point, the point you're talking about, Ben, I was like, oh, I thought this was going to be the end of the movie. Like I thought we were saving this for the end, and that would be the big, moment. And then we break out into this huge, scene. The last 30 minutes of the movie. And then the actual end of the movie. It was just kind of like pulling me in all types of different directions. I was starting to get a little confused as to where we were going. And so, yeah, pacing wise, it was kind of off a bit. But for what it was and for what it did and for what it made me feel, I still can't say I didn't have a wonderful time and that it didn't stick with me for the rest of that night. I think it was a great movie.
I think both of you need to cry me a river. Like, shut up. This movie was fire. This movie was fantastic. No, I'm joking. Obviously, like, yeah, it kind of droned on a bit there towards the latter half for sure. But I mean, I'll be damned, bro, if I am not willing to forgive it, because like, I mean, it doesn't do anything like exceptional. Don't get me wrong. Like it's just a very like heartfelt story, and it's told in a concise way, with the exception of the climax, I would say, or you guys say the latter half. Crazy talk, but for me, man, oh man, oh man, bro, that soundtrack, the original score alone, dude. I have not done this with a movie in a long, long time. I have it on repeat for the past week. I've been listening to it, man. It is so good. Specifically, there's one track called, and it's a line in the movie. I could use a boost when she's like sending him off on the migration, dude. Da-na-na. Ah, dude, it's so good, man. It's so good. It makes you feel like you can do anything in the world. It's insane. But the
As I'm in the
visuals,
midst
obviously,
of applying for residency right now.
stellar. I don't think it reaches the heights of anything like Spider-Verse or anything like that. Still very visually pleasing to look at, though. The performances were great. I talked, I think, a little bit last week, or maybe it was off the air, about Pedro Pascal and like just how differently he plays the Fox compared to like his voice for Joel and whatnot like that. But Lupito Nyong'o did fantastic as Roz as well. There's just a lot of. Actually, you know what? No, I want to dive into that first. I was gonna say there's a lot of heartfelt messages in it, but then like I think back to like the first half where there's literally, and they went back on this like shortly after it happened, but like there's a moment where like I think they're possums. The mom possum has like 6 or 7 kids with her, and then one of the kids dies off screen, and she's like, 6 kids, and she's happy about it. And then the kid comes back and he's like, I'm just kidding, mom, I'm not dead. Oh, yay. I was like, that is crazy. That is wild. But I think that, that's the thing. At first for me, it was like, what is the message? Because it seemed like the message here is like, oh, you hate your kids, like kids are annoying and you shouldn't, like you do it just because you have to, not because you genuinely want to. And I was like, I don't know how that is for a message, that's kind of, it's not great. But obviously it comes full circle by the end. Didn't know that the bear was Mark Hamill. That was crazy to me to find out. Yeah, I didn't know that. Was cool though. Yeah, man, I can't like sing its praises enough. Truthfully, I also love the end when she says, "Oh my God, man!" She rips out like her heart circuit board thing, and then Bright Bill's like, "Whoa, don't you need that?" And she's like, "I have everything I need." Dude, if she would have died, like that's the only thing. Like I get it. Like she needed to live. It's a kid. Actually, no, she probably could have. They could have done that. I think it would have been a little bit better if she had died. Because like at the end to just have it all still be like, oh yeah, he can just go visit her whenever he wants, like he just has to fly over there. And also I would have liked to get like a little bit more insight on like the human aspect of it, like how the humanity is the way that it is now. Like they're living in one area on the entire planet. It seems like I don't know if they. It doesn't seem like they destroyed the planet if nature's thriving in that specific island anyway. But like they fly over like the Golden Gate Bridge and stuff like that. We see little snippets here and there, but we don't get the full picture of what happened. And maybe that's just like a little asking for too much for like a one-off movie type thing. I don't see them making a sequel to this or anything like that. But yeah, man, this I felt fantastic coming out of this movie. Like as Aiden, like there's 3 times I cried. First time was when she sent him off on the migration, and then the second time was with the heart rip out thing, and then the third time was like the very end, right when like she picks up Bright Bill. Which, granted, I know I just kind of talk shit on that scene, but whatever. It's still, I love this movie. I kind of want to go see it again, and yeah, I can't. I love it. I don't know what I'd rate it. I guess I'd give it a 9. Yeah, I'd give it a 9 out of 10 for me personally, myself. I love it.
I do think I want to watch it again, knowing how the story is paced, to see if that changes anything. because okay, I'll dive deeper now that we can talk spoilers, but what I mean by like the halfway point of the movie is the point that he is sent off for migration. That felt like what we were building towards the whole
Yeah.
time. That was the whole dynamic that was set up. And I think that was around the halfway point. At least that it feels like it for the length of the movie. But that happens, and then we start to go into the scenes of, you know, Roz deciding if she's gonna return or not, and also then we get to see pieces of the migration. We have this really big action scene, which really I think the purpose of that was to show Bright Bill kind of taking a leadership role when it comes to the flock, and also for is it Longneck? Is that his name? Was that like the grandfather goose?
I think so.
Honestly,
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Something like that. The chief goose that was leading the migration, who ended up dying in that scene. I think that was like the main purpose, was to show Chief Goose dying and Bright Bill kind of taking a leadership role within the flock. Um, all just so that, you know, when the flock comes back, that Bright Bill can, you know, can kind of, now Roz knows that like he found his place, and that was kind of her whole goal with sending him off in the first place, and wanting him to learn all of these things, wanting to, you know, complete her task. And so just like that whole portion, and how that then leads into like the climax of the film, it feels like a lot of things happening, and they do have significance. I just don't feel like the thread was very well woven between them. The line to get through all of those items just didn't seem very clear to me, compared to the first half of the movie, which is like very like, this is what is happening. It's so simple to follow along with. And then it kind of feels like we're jumping all over the place with things that like still matter, and moments that are still good, like between Roz and Fink. Lots of great moments and lots of great things, just not, in my opinion, fitting together super well when it comes to how the story is paced. I don't know if I would feel the same upon a rewatch, so I probably will at some point, just because I'm curious, considering that was my main thing with the movie. And they're like emotionally, and the score, all of that is so well done. It's just that one piece that to me didn't work. And then I guess I'll point it out just because I'm kind of giving some of my other thoughts. The other thing that I wanted to point out is, I don't know why, one of my favorite lines was when Roz said, and I'm probably butchering like the exact line, but she said something along the lines of, sometimes in order to survive, we have to go against our programming, essentially, was what she said. And especially within the moment, I thought that was like really, really well done. And I mean, I think the concept of a robot that doesn't have feelings landing on, you know, an island with no life and wild animals, it lends itself to those great concepts. And so I think in that regard, they did just an incredible job of how they developed that character and her relationship to the wildlife on the island. So yeah, those were just a couple things I wanted to point out. But my biggest thing was just that pacing towards like kind of the halfway point after the migration starts. That's really my only thing that I just don't feel like the best choices were made with the flow of the story at that point. Not that like the pieces were really good, the emotional moments were still there. A lot of the things amazing. It's just how it all fit together.
Yep. What you did isn't your fault. I forget the quote. Sorry. I'm just trying to.
Yeah, let's.
What you
not
did
do
to
that, buddy
fix
boy,
it
huh?
means everything. I love you, Mom. That moment right there got me pretty good. Yeah, it was a great movie.
Banger,
I don't know. Yeah,
banger, banger,
I
banger.
really don't have a ton of
I thought
thoughts.
I gotta inject here. Sometimes to survive, we must become more than we are programmed to be.
Yeah, wonderful. A lot of great one-liners in there. Lots. All right.
Ah, it's so good. It's so good. Oh my gosh. Man.
I'm ready to get
I love
into
the
this main event.
This is what we've all been waiting for. Take it away, Aiden. Actually, I haven't started with thoughts, I don't think. So I guess I'll go first. The Joker 2. I'm probably gonna talk about spoilers in what I say. So if you care, then maybe don't listen to this part. But pretty mid. Yeah, it's pretty mid for me. I found that the musicals didn't they sorry no they made I was about to say that they didn't make sense for what was happening in the scene. They made sense, but that's the thing. I feel like they just reiterated what we were just told on screen. It didn't add anything to the scene. It didn't add anything to the film. It's just what Arthur or Harley learned in the scene prior, and then making it into a song version. There are a few exceptions to that. There are some more profound with like deeper meaning songs. I think there's like two, but for the most part, that's what the purpose of this being a musical seems to serve. The character arc seems very circular to me. And it's also a stark change from the end of the first movie. As we just rewatched it, we end the first movie with Arthur standing up, fully embracing the idea of the Joker, and the town, and not the town, the city of Gotham loving him. And then we also end with him still being psychotic, and them seemingly alluding to him killing his psychiatrist in Arkham and then getting chased down by the guards. We open this movie, he's depressed. And he is back to like old Arthur from the beginning of the first movie. And we're not told why that is. I think that we come to understand it later in the film, potentially. But if that's the case, then I feel like this is a very circular arc in the sense that it seems to me like he's depressed because like that is he knows that like that is him, is like Arthur and the Joker are one person, as he says in the film. And he's taking all that on. He regrets killing those people. And so by the end of the movie, he's in the same exact place that he was before, but now he's on death row, I assume. And so it was just like, it didn't take us anywhere. Arthur didn't really learn much except for how to break out of the manipulation that I would say that Harley put him in. Harley, throughout the entire movie, is manipulating him, and then by the end, he breaks away from that, which I also want to add, and I'll get into this deeper in a second. That was so sudden in my mind. It was just like a flip switch. It wasn't a gradual progression whatsoever to me. But with Harley manipulating him throughout the entire film, appealing to Arthur's Joker side, she made him feel like it is a separate idea, a separate version of him. She tried to egg that version of him on. But as for it came out of nowhere for me, he is fully embracing this Joker persona again, and this different person that he is. The cracks start to show with what's his name, Puddles, in the courtroom. What Puddles says to him, which I think is a really great scene, and people have been praising the scene. I agree. Just with what Puddles says about like, you were the only person that was ever nice to me, and that's what Joker said to him, or I guess Arthur said to him right after he killed that guy in the first one. Like, you were the only one that right before he let him out of the apartment, you're the only one that's ever nice to me. And then now Puddles is sitting here saying the same thing. You're the only one that didn't make fun of me, and now I'm terrified of you. I'm terrified to do anything in my life because of you. And that seems to get to Arthur a little bit. But then that night, goes back to Arkham, still in the full Joker state, even with the guards. The guards are marching him down to go do whatever they do to him, which that's something I guess we should also talk about. I think it's implied that we can't say that word for YouTube purposes, but it's implied that he was R-worded, I guess. But maybe I just wasn't paying attention. I think I did look away from the screen when I was watching it at this moment. But why is that implied? Did they pull down his underwear or something? Did I not see that?
They said something about stripping his clothes. Like,
Yeah, they
completely.
said to take his clothes off.
Okay. So yeah, that probably happened then. And then right after that, he's thrown in the hole, and then the other guy that's been like, or one of the guys that has been championing him as the Joker at Arkham starts singing that Saint song, and then I think it's also implied that the guards kill that guy and choke him out, choke him to death. And then that's when he realizes that people are dying, and he needs to make this change. But I just don't understand, like, why am I to understand that this Joker, that him as the Joker, why does he care now? Because it's these smaller people? Is that what the idea is behind it? That they're not the rich and powerful or the bullies of society, as he says, and now they're getting punished because of what Arthur himself as Joker represents? It just, all in one day for that to happen, and then for the next day to go to court and say the Joker and me are one person. Like, that just, it was so quick. Like, it seemed like that was just such a stark change for the entire movie to cling to. And that's further emphasized by a scene that I don't think was necessary, just for him to end up. I think it was the purpose it served was to have one last conversation with Harley. But after the bomb goes off in City Hall, and or not City Hall, whatever, the courthouse, and he gets out, and the Joker guys pick him up, and then he hears that they're gonna blow up the whole city now. So then he actually gets up and runs away from the Joker in a physical sense, as well as like it's obviously we're seeing him mentally run away from the Joker persona and fully embody and take accountability for what he did in the first movie, which I give him credit for. But just to have that scene for him to end up getting caught by the police again and just end up in Arkham again, I don't see what that served other than talking to Harley. And that same thing could have just happened with when he tried to call Harley, just have Harley pick up, and Harley can just say everything that she just said on the stairs in person over the phone. Like, I don't know. It just seemed like it was fluffing the runtime for no reason. But maybe that's a smaller nitpick sort of complaint. I don't know, man. It just, and to talk about the ending, I guess, this is where I'm going to actually disagree with a lot of people. They say that the ending was terrible. I don't see why the ending was terrible. What I think that stems from is, I think people think that the guy in the background, they think that they're trying to say that this movie is in the same universe as the Dark Knight movies. They're trying to say that is Heath Ledger's Joker, is what some people are thinking with that. Which, if that's what your takeaway is, and I know that some people do, that is some people's takeaway, because what's his name on YouTube, Charlie or Penguin Zero, whatever, that guy, Moist Critical, he said that. That's what he said, that they're trying to say that this is in the Dark Knight universe. No, that's not what they're trying to say. If anything, it's like a subtle nod to Heath Ledger's Joker, but like, that's all it is. It's not in the same universe whatsoever. But that's the thing. I don't see why that's at the end of the day, Arthur took accountability for his mistakes by saying that there is no Joker, and Arthur Fleck and one person, and he paid the consequences for that, for parading around, making psychopaths think that they're seen, that they have a purpose here on this planet, and then he takes that away from them, and so obviously a psychopath is going to act on that. Only little issue I have with it is, like, it's just a random guy that the camera focuses on at like 3 different points throughout the movie. I think that's like a little like, oh, okay, I mean, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I understand what the movie was going for. I just don't think that it was like it wasn't executed well, and it took us nowhere. We ended up in the same place that that the movie started, and I don't think that it's better because of it. I don't know. Yeah.
I'll
Ben, do
go.
you want to go
Wait,
first?
let me. Sorry, I want to. The cinematography is still great. The original score, fantastic. Everything else about this movie, really, really, really well done. But yeah,
I will add something to that list. The opening animated sequence, I was a fan of. Um, Obviously, we knew that like it wasn't going to be a big part of the movie, but I did wonder like what sort of significance it was going to have, and it didn't really feel like it did. I mean, I guess it kind of like it tries to put you in the mind of the Joker. Life is a comedy, whatever. But then you immediately cut to, like you said, Charlie, just him being depressed. But yeah, I liked the idea of the opening sequence, even though I don't think it served much of a purpose. But self-contained, it was good. Yeah, this movie, it just it feels like all of the directions that it wanted to take the character or the story or the world just didn't really feel very purposeful and didn't really feel very connected. It's kind of just like going down a bunch of rabbit trails and then retracting your steps and going down a different one to the point where like once you get to the end it's just like why did we even take this journey in the first place? Um Talking about the musical aspect, I think that on a small scale, I think it can work. Even just the fact of the end of the first Joker film, having him singing "That's Life" to like his psychiatrist or whoever he's talking to, um, like that, I don't think is anything. It's not a huge moment, but it feels in character and it works. And then taking that and leaning so heavily into it is just such a poor choice in the case of how they executed it in this movie. It honestly feels like they put Lady Gaga in this movie and made it a musical just to have her in so she could sing. Like that at some point that's really what it feels like because like yeah, you could talk about Harley's character and how she eggs on Arthur Fleck and the relationship that she wants to have with him, but it's like you said, Charlie, that like all at least for the most part, the musical numbers are just an extension of a scene that we've just had because they are fictitious. Like they're not actually happening. And so since they're a reflection of what we've already seen, they don't do anything. They really feel like they overstayed their welcome. I think that there's a world where you could have had a couple of musical sequences, especially like the one where they're like on the big stage, with the flashing logo and lights and whatnot, where she shoots him. I think they could have incorporated it in a way that actually made sense for the relationship dynamic that they were going for between Arthur and Harley. And they could have used it more minimally and tied it better into the story. But since the story was such a mess, it just felt like they just kept adding more musicals without actual substance to them. I do think there's another world where you could tell a similar story, at least when it comes to like the relationship, and you could have incorporated music and it would work just fine. Um, it's just the approach that they took just didn't really work at all. Um, and then the other big thing, of course, being Joker's character. Um, just weird choice, I think. Um, just how we start the movie, and then ultimately him backing out of basically the whole purpose of the first film, which like the first film kind of showed Arthur has felt like a deadbeat for such a long time, and all he wants to do is bring people joy and all of these things.
And so the first film was like, this guy's been basically a loser his whole life and, embracing the crazy side of him. And now we're meant to believe that like right after that, he already like regrets it. This was such like the first film was such a big change for him and he loved it. And now he already regrets that. Like that is it's such a large jump to make in such a short period of time. And not that time, I mean, time matters, but also like the substance of how you try to connect those dots matter. And so that I think was lacking as well. Um, just a weird choice all around with the story and the direction that they decided to go. But I will agree about the ending. I do think I think even Aiden asked me about this when we recorded last. Um, and you weren't here, Charlie. You had left. But I do think that the ending actually works relatively well for what we have in the universe, which is, this grand cult following of people that he's inspired, some of which are in prison with him. And then them seeing him back down from his ideals, now they feel betrayed by somebody that they looked up to. And when you combine that with somebody with psychotic behavior, then that's what it leads to. So I actually think that the moment is warranted. And like, I understand some people saying like, oh, he's just a random character. But at least in my mind, like the whole point of Joker's character arc in the first film was that all of these random people felt seen. And so like it almost feels real that some random guy who we don't really know shanks him in a prison. Like that it feels like it fits the narrative for what we've set up before. And I don't understand anyone who's saying like, oh, they're trying to set up the next Joker and this is going to be who it is. I think that's stupid. Like they are not telling any more stories in this universe. I think Todd Phillips is done. Joaquin Phoenix is done. That's it. It's that simple. It doesn't need to be any more complicated. But to give the movie a little bit of praise, kind of like you said, Charlie, the original score, really good. Joaquin Phoenix is, I mean, he kills it. It honestly feels like the movie relies on his performance too much at times. Just him being Arthur Fleck. And yeah, the cinematography and even some of the camera work. Like there was a really nice one shot towards the end of the movie when the courthouse explodes and he goes outside, and then the whole sequence of him traveling. All of that was in a one shot sequence that I thought was really well done. So definitely certain props to give the movie, but just narratively and character wise, it's so dull that it doesn't work. I don't even know if I like fully landed on a score because the more I think, the more I dislike it. I think initially I gave it like a 4 out of 10, which is like it's a pretty big drop from the first film and definitely not what I was expecting or hoping for.
Yeah, I thought this movie was hot fucking garbage. I thought this shit sucked. Absolutely sucked. Even if you are trying to tell the story, which I've seen a lot of people be apologetic towards Todd Phillips, and I mean Brandon even talked about this. How much of these explanations and these hoops that you're trying to jump through is you coping and you not just realizing that maybe Todd Phillips just doesn't know how to fucking make a sequel, because that's what I'm seeing in this movie. As a Joker movie, I think it's horrible. I think Arthur dropping this moniker of the Joker, them trying to do some type of redeeming actions with his character. This man killed his mom. He has done irredeemable things in the first movie, and now he wants to backtrack and drop this moniker and take back everything that he's done. I don't think it works. It doesn't fucking work, especially with everything you've done in the first movie. And I walked out just absolutely pissed that I wasted a good movie of a double feature. I could have watched Transformers 1. I could have watched anything else other than this monstrosity that I saw. I didn't have a good time with it. I think the musicals, yeah, they're cool. I love the little like La La Land looking one. I thought it was awesome. The little wedding sequence. I loved seeing Joaquin Phoenix back in the makeup and the cool suits. But what the fuck are they in the movie for? Like, like just going piggybacking off of what y'all said, they added nothing. They added nothing that couldn't. Oh my god, I'm crashing out. Let me. Oh jeez, my camera's freaking out. They added nothing that couldn't have been done in a nice little scene of dialogue or whatever, just not in musical form. If I get sidetracked, I'm trying to fix this. It just none of it worked for me. None of it worked for me at all. And Jesus Christ, technical difficulties over here. It's just smacking my camera everywhere. Yeah, none of it worked for me. There was a lot of times I was just rolling my eyes. I think they absolutely obliterated the character of Arthur Fleck, of the Joker, especially that scene with the prison guards. There's no need for any of that. What the fuck are you trying to tell with that? Why does he have to go through that? It makes no sense to me, and it just looks like Todd Phillips taking this character of Arthur Fleck and kicking it, punching it, stepping on it, squishing it, and then kicking it to the curb. For what reason?
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. What was the purpose of that? Like, why did he have to go through that?
Just thinking,
what purpose did that serve to the story?
Exactly.
I don't think that contributed to Arthur changing his mind and deciding to not be the not have this separate Joker persona anymore. That was just like I guess it's just to show how cruel the world is, but like. I don't know. Like, I know it's cruel. That's the whole purpose of the first movie. Is like he thinks the world was cruel to him, and he's taking back. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No.
That's a
I
good point.
Seriously, it just when I thought back, I saw a tweet. Somebody was talking about the Batman wasted tried his whole entire life trying to fix the Joker and all all he had to do was R-word him and he was fine, or like gets R-worded, stops being the Joker. And it's like, seriously, what the fuck are we doing in this movie? And I read that tweet and I was like, yeah, fuck that. And I went and made my Letterboxd review and I put it at 1.5 stars and I was like, fuck this fucking movie. It stinks. Like, don't go watch it. It pissed me off. It genuinely pissed me off. And I think that's why I also I just have no feelings towards the ending. It's not that I don't like it or that I do like it. But, like, you just take this character of Arthur Fleck that you spent so much time in the first movie building up to this mountain that he's on top of the world, and then you just crush it all. You have him get R-worded. You have him get shanked. You have Harley just manipulate him and then dump him. For what? For what fucking reason? This fucking movie sucks, dude. Like, as a Joker movie, it fucking sucks. What are you doing to this character that needed to be a movie? That needed to be a sequel? That needed to have $450 million just to break even. If this movie is being put out and this word of mouth is being spread about what you're doing to this character, what makes you think people want to go to the fucking theater to watch it? And if we weren't sitting here making a podcast, I wouldn't have went to watch it. Or I would have been like, I'm going to watch this just to see how fucking bad it was, because that's what I did. I went to the movie to watch it just to see how atrocious it is. And it was. And I just don't understand how you build off of the first movie and you do this. And I've seen a lot of people say that this is okay, look. There was a couple of scenes where it started. I don't know if y'all watched. I guess it doesn't matter if you watched it, if you know the story of Ted Bundy, but it helps a little bit if you watched the movie that Zac Efron was in of Ted Bundy, and how he was on trial, and in between trials he saw this girl, and the prison guard let him see the girl. They had sex, she had a baby, and so she was pregnant with Ted Bundy's baby. He was on this televised trial that had, a cult following. He was idolized. He was on death row, and all of these things were screaming. All those scenes in the movie with Harley Quinn, getting Harley Quinn pregnant, quote unquote, whatever you want to call it, these things still mirrored exactly what Ted Bundy's case was back in the 80s or whatever. And I've seen a lot of people make the comparisons of like holding these people, like holding these people up on a pedestal. The people that are obsessed with Ted Bundy, that are obsessed with serial killers, that are obsessed with the Columbine shooters, like the consequence of putting these people up on a pedestal and showing Arthur going through that. And it's like, okay, yeah, like, and holding that mirror up to the audience, because even after the movie, I was sitting there and I told my buddy, I was like, I want to see that fucking dude in the back that just sliced his face. Give me a fucking Joker movie about that. What the fuck are we looking at Arthur Fleck for after this shit? Like, give me that dude. And I've seen people say that that's what the movie's trying to do. It's trying to show you that we're Harley Quinn, where we're just like, oh, Arthur Fleck isn't, okay, get Arthur Fleck out of here. I want to see that dude. And it's like, okay, I will say I did fall for that. I was part of the audience that did that. But it's a Joker movie. You fucker. It was what you built the whole first movie around. It doesn't matter what kind of mirror you're trying to hold up to the audience, because you're going off of this incredible groundwork that you laid out in the first movie. And I say incredible because this movie made the first one look fucking incredible. And so you can't hold a mirror up to an audience after you've done all that groundwork. And even if that's what you're going for, why? Why after, this movie made $1 billion? I get it, cool. Like, it had a cult following and it had a lot of people that are like apologizing for Joker and apologizing for what he did in the movie because he's just this cool, edgy, dark character. Why do you have to turn that back on everyone just to make a statement? You're making a fucking Joker movie, dude. You're not making a deep thinking political film. Like, know your fucking audience, first of all. I don't know. This movie just pissed me off because I've seen a lot of people try to apologize for it. I've seen a lot of people coping with how bad the movie is, trying to make up, trying to speak for Todd Phillips himself and say what the movie's supposed to be. I don't even care that it's a musical. Cool, be a musical. One, make the fucking musical sequences make sense to the story. Have it add something to the story and not just be like, we have to hit our quota of having Arthur Fleck in a Joker costume for marketing purposes. Make it something other than that. And two, don't just obliterate this entire character that you spent, a whole movie building up. I just think it's dumb. You peel everything back, we're just watching a fucking guy, dude. We're just watching a guy that had mental issues, went insane, created a cult, and now we're just watching his trial. Yeah, we start the movie, he's depressed, we go through his trial, he meets this girl, whatever, and then he gets shanked and he's dead because whatever. Nothing fucking happened. Nothing happened until it did happen, and then when it did happen, he was getting killed and being R-worded and just having his whole character be destroyed. So what the fuck am I sitting 2 hours in the theater waiting for? You know what I mean? It was quite literally one of the worst comic book movies I've ever seen. It was quite literally one of the worst sequels I've ever seen. I did not have a good time. I hated it. I don't think any amount of coping, any amount of speaking for Todd Phillips will make me think twice about it. It came and it went, and I'm totally fine just leaving it there. I can definitely see a scenario where this gains a cult following. I've already seen people backpedal and be like, the movie's actually good. Oh, if you think of it this way, or you have to be big brain to. It doesn't fucking matter, man. It's not a good Joker movie. It's not a good movie at all. And what you did to this character is just stupid. No matter what dumb fucking statement you're trying to make about society. Like, it already didn't work a little bit in the first movie. Don't get too big for your britches because Warner Brothers threw a couple bill at you and said, oh, make it again. Don't turn it into a fucking think piece, man. Make a fucking Joker movie. Make it cool. Like, I don't care. And if I'm part of the audience that you're trying to hold a mirror to and say that, oh, you're wrong for thinking this, then cool, so be it. I wanted a fucking Joker comic book movie. I didn't want this stupid fucking think piece that about holding psychopaths up on a pedestal. I don't care, man. That's not what I go to a comic book movie to think about. I want to go watch a Joker movie, and you absolutely obliterated it. And so, yeah, I've been waiting all week to talk about how shit of a movie this is. And it feels so good to get it off my chest because the more I think about it, the more I think about what they did to his character. And props to Joaquin Phoenix. I mean, that last scene where he comes up and he's like, "I want to tell you a joke," and Arthur's like, "Oh yeah," and he's like laughing at the joke along with it. And I'm like, "Man, what are you doing?" Like, oh, like I don't know. I say he's a piece of shit. I say he's irredeemable. But then like moments like that where he's just like, he just looks like a sweet little man. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you shaking him and putting him through all of this? Like, I don't know. Especially like I like what you said, Ben, about ending the first movie, or what both of y'all said about ending the first movie where he's on top of the world and he finally feels like, you know, all of this meant something, and that he has a purpose, or that he's being seen, and to turn it around and what, have fucking Puddles be like, "Oh, but you were nice to me." Oh, fuck, you're right, man. Fuck, I was nice to you. I have to not be the Joker anymore. Fuck, dude, I hurt your feelings. I'm sorry. Who gives a fuck, man? Like, you're the fucking Joker. You're the Joker. You're on top of the world. Who gives a fuck about what Puddles thinks? Oh, well, cope with it. Go see a therapist. I'm the fucking Joker, man. Like, that's what I want to see. I don't want to see this fucking character just be like, "Oh, I hurt his feelings. I've done irreversible damage." Fucking let Batman deal with that. Let Batman bring him to fucking justice. Keep being you. Keep being the Joker. But no, we had to get this. And so, yeah, this movie fucking sucks, man. It sucks. And that's about where I stand.
Yeah. The only thing that like I can say as to like where Arthur starts this movie and why like it might work is like, you could say because he's depressed, and he was depressed in the first one, like depression doesn't go away and like it comes in waves or whatever, but like still, I mean, that's not like an accurate representation. Like, let me rephrase actually. Make that known. Like all I know going into this is that Arthur is for some reason. I mean, obviously we can tell that the conditions in Arkham aren't great, but for some reason, other than that, he used to tell jokes in here all the time. Judging by how the guards are like, "You got a joke for us today?" You know, that kind of thing, and now he just doesn't, and we don't know why that is, and it's such like a starting me in the movie in such a lost way, which can work in different scenarios, sure, but it did not get executed well here. I think that it took away from my ability to enjoy it in any sort of way, meaningful way early on than it helped anything, I would say. I don't know.
Yeah. I did want to mention, just because you kind of brought it up, Aiden, but the film is really underperforming at the box office.
Yeah.
Especially when you compare it to the first film, which ultimately became the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time until recently with Deadpool and Wolverine. There's been some weird comparisons that like people have been making. So it had a worse opening weekend than Morbius did, which is like, it's such a strange thing to pull because Joker 2 and the first Joker R-rated movies, so like you're automatically going to have a little bit less of an audience. But still, like, Morbius tanked because it got review bombed, and people went for the memes, and that's, you know, half of the reason it even did as well as it did. But so yeah, not a great opening weekend, and it's projected to have a massive decline in its second weekend. One of the other comparisons I saw is that Terrifier 3 is potentially tracking to earn more than Joker 2 on Joker 2's second weekend. Which, like, I don't know how much you guys know about the Terrifier movies. We're talking like these movies were made for a couple $100,000 and then they started to gain a cult following, which is why there's now 3 of them. But they are like very small. I mean, they've obviously built a bigger following as they've released more movies, but overall they're like very underground, super not well known. And also, I'm sure you guys remember when Terrifier 2 came out, there was all the reports of like people throwing up and leaving the theater and whatnot just because of how graphic and brutal that film was. Which, like, I saw the movie in theaters, and this one's supposed to be even crazier. But even with all of that, you have like some of the most intense, brutal horror movie that has been made in recent years, and that is potentially outgrossing the sequel to Joker. Like
Yeah.
that is that's crazy in my opinion. Like more crazy than Morbius is the fact that like because of the discussion behind this film and how much people are just not enjoying it, that this could have an insane decline and end up being like a huge financial bomb for Warner Brothers. I just think that that's insane.
Yeah.
I agree.
Word of mouth, man.
And yeah, that's true. I don't. It's part of me also just thinks like we're in a different state with like not that this is a superhero movie, but we're just in a different state now with like stuff tied to comic book stuff. And I know it's weird to say with Deadpool and Wolverine doing as well as it just did, but arguably I would say that that's due to nostalgia. But not that it was a bad movie; it was a good movie. But I would say a lot of that is because of Hugh Jackman coming back as well. But largely, I do think it's not performing well because it's simply not a good movie, and everybody is saying it's not a good movie. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts, gentlemen?
I guess I didn't give it a score. I give it like a 4 out of 10, probably. Yeah, I think a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I
I'm
gave
right
it
there with you.
a star and a half out of 5 stars, which would probably be like 3 out of 10. And that 3 is literally just cinematography, soundtrack, cool musical sequences whenever you peel away whatever the fuck they're supposed to mean. So, movie sucks, dude. Those
All
are my
right,
thoughts.
well-
Yeah, yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, no, that's all. I was just gonna say like, there's a couple that like have a slightly deeper meaning. I would say like the musical when I keep wanting to say Joker, but Arthur is being interviewed by that one guy in Arkham like halfway through the movie, and he starts singing, and some of the lyrics are talking about like how she's kind of like making him out to be a fool, but he doesn't care. He wants to be a fool for her, that kind of thing. And like that talks about how Harley is manipulating him and like maybe he's acknowledging it and he knows it, but he doesn't care because he loves her so much. Like that's slightly deeper. That's like as deep as the musicals get in the movie, because other than that, you get ones like the court scene one when he's going around beating the shit. Also, side note, I don't know why it just annoyed me that Harvey becomes Two-Face because of that bomb. Like they show Harvey with half of his face burned right there. I was like, I threw my hand up and I looked at my girlfriend. I was like, you don't even get it, but it's just like, why? But anyway, that doesn't matter. But as for the like most of the musicals in the movie, the large majority of them are like the courthouse one, where in a good scene, I will admit, to find out how his mom essentially like really viewed him. I thought that was a great revelation of him saying, "Oh yeah, or not him saying of whoever it was. I think it was not Tashi. I almost said Tashi Duncan. What the hell? Challengers. Zazie Beetz' character, going up and talking about how his mom just told him that he was meant to bring a smile to people's faces, and apparently how she said, I can't believe he based his entire life around this stupid story I made up, and just hearing about how she apparently just genuinely didn't care about him. Like I thought that was like a damn, that sucks kind of thing. But if anything, that should also support him wanting to become the Joker more. Anyway, but the musical that follows that is just him talking about how the joke's on me. I'm the Joker. Everybody wants to point and laugh at me. Yeah, like I get it, man. I get it. Like it sucks that you think that, because the song is also talking about how, oh, I think everything's fine, but I end up being the Joker, like the butt of the joke. Yes, we get it, man. That's what happened here. You thought you loved your mother. You thought your mother was a loving person, with the exception of lying to you about your father, and that's why you killed her and that kind of thing. But then you find out it goes even deeper than that. The joke's on you. We get it. You don't need to make a song about it to continue the like just plump out the runtime. There's no point, man. There's no point. So I don't know. I'm done. I'm done getting angry, bro.
Yeah.
I don't. I was tired of watching it after the first rewatch. Anyway, I'm tired of the Joker. I'm glad this is over. I'm glad. Bye bye.
Even that moment of being like, oh yeah, on top of all this horrible shit that happened to him, oh, his mom was lying. All that shit we told you in the first movie, no, his mom hates him, and his mom has hated him the whole time. What are we doing, dude? Like, Todd Phillips, bro. Oh, you stress me out, dude. Yeah, I'm done talking about this movie.
Yeah. For anybody still listening, if you happen to have a defense for Joker 2, please leave a comment. We would love to read it and maybe trash on your take a little bit. But anyways, that has been us talking about many of things. We covered a lot in this episode. Look forward to next week where we will continue talking Agatha, continue talking with the Penguin, and any other releases that we all decide to check out. But yeah, it's been a really good, diverse discussion with many topics. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure again to hit that like button and subscribe if you are new here. Leave us a rating on any audio listening platforms. And be sure to tune in next week as we continue to have amazing conversations. But that has been it from the Words from the Nerds podcast. As always, thank you all for tuning in. Sayonara.
Adios.